Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Brentwood. Happy Friday. I'm Jane Covington, past president. Especially happy to be here today, filling in for President Steve. I think this is the longest run that I've ever had not being at Rotary. So glad to see everybody's smiling faces today. I've had lots of stuff going on in rail for work, and I've had a sick puppy. I shared with a couple folks that if anybody has connections at Blue Pearl Emergency Vet Clinic, I fully expect naming rights to the new wing that I know they can afford. So please pass that along. And we will move right on into our program by having an invocation led by Beth Dormany today. Oh, no, you're fine.
Please pray with me. Our Heavenly Father, we pray for those who are struggling today, whether they're facing financial hardship, health issues, or personal challenges. Be with them in their time of need. Guide us to be generous and compassionate, offering help and support where we can. Let us see the humanity in everyone and act with kindness. We ask for your provision and comfort for those who are suffering today. Help them to find hope and strength and to keep going. May we be aware of the needs of those around us and be moved to action. Help us to be a source of support and encouragement. We pray for the organizations and individuals who work tirelessly to help those in need. Bless their efforts and provide them with the resources they require. Help us to remember that we are all interconnected and that by helping others, we also enrich our own lives. May we be instruments of your love and compassion, bringing light and hope to those who are struggling. Thank you for the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. Help us to respond to that call with generosity and kindness. We ask that you bless our food today and the hands that prepared it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Would you join me in the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
True.
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Now I'll ask Jennifer Ruane to introduce guests and visiting Rotarians.
Good afternoon. Yay for us for our barcode scanner. Woo, everybody cheer. Come on, we worked so hard. What did everybody think of the new setup check-in today? Did it feel like it flowed pretty well? All right, we'll keep on trying. Okay, we really want to welcome our guests today. Claudia Buchanan right here. Say hello, Claudia. She is in process.
Hello, everyone. I did want to announce that Jordan had her baby either Wednesday night or Thursday morning. We're not sure of the time, but sweet Scarlett is here.
Oh,
Thank you. Let's see. Steve Tate has a guest today.
Yes, this is say hi to Mitchell Burns. He is with Underdog Roofing, one of our top vendors with our business. Their company sponsored hole 18, I believe it was a hole 17 at the golf tournament. So if you're nice to them, please.
right. Yay.
So definitely be nice to him for sure. So anyway, but yes, say hi to Mitchell.
Let's see. I saw Matt over here. Matt has a guest. Maybe I should organize these so I'm not get my steps in. I don't want to over exercise.
Hey there, Matt McCall here. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Matt Payton. Matt, I've known him for a long time. He is an executive coach and leadership consultant and started a new firm called Great Days Leadership. Held several roles in higher education, most recently Executive Vice President at Lipscomb University. So glad to have Matt here today.
Thank you. Tucker has a guest.
Yeah. So I brought one of my best friends from elementary school all the way up to now, William Wallace, not to be confused with Mel Gibson's film Braveheart, William Wallace. Like I said, longtime friend, upcoming real estate superstar, and happy to show him what we do here and bring him in and get some good food.
So we also have Jeff Phillips. He's from the Morning Club. We'll let him come again, right? You've been here a couple times, right? You're Franklin Noon. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Whoa. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And let's see here. Who else is on my list? So there's a couple that I want to introduce. So Catherine Stark over here at this table. She is in process. We're so glad that she's joining us. You want to introduce yourself one more time? Because that ends as soon as you're a member. You can't get the mic. Come on the board.
Hey guys, Catherine Stark, excited to be here again. I'm with Vanderbilt Health. Thank you.
Ashley Burnett is also interested in membership. So everybody make sure you introduce yourself to her today.
Ashley Burnett, I work just down the street at the Heritage at Brentwood and have visited several times and in the process of membership.
And the speaker has a couple guests today. I won't, of course, introduce the speaker, but I am going to introduce one of my friends and the other guest that's here. I don't know Nick, but I'm looking forward to meeting him. So this is Jenna. She is a member of the Morning Club. Right. Afternoon. Downtown Franklin. So I got all that wrong. That's beautiful. Okay, so let's be really nice to her. So she is in my leadership class. So she's checking 2 things off. She's with her boss today, and she gets credit for a leadership class. So I did this when we had Sheriff Hughes speak. Everybody that's an alumni with leadership, Brentwood, raise your hand. Right? Pretty impressive, right? So, but we will be the class of 2025, which is the best class. Catherine Stark is also part of that. And no, 25, we're headed into the seat. And then we have Nick. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Nick Binnicker on the team with Williamson Inc. Not in a Rotary yet. Yeah, thanks for having me.
We just put a target on your back. Okay, did I get everybody? All the guests. Thank you all for coming today. Join us again.
Nick, we're the coolest Rotary Club. So hint, hint. Okay, now I'm going to ask Tucker Day to do Happy Bucks.
Yeah, the happiest of bucks. I think I'll throw one in today. Yeah. So Will is getting married in a couple of months, and a little bit ago he asked me to be the best man of his wedding. So I'm very, very happy for him, and now I got to prep a speech, and hopefully I don't cry. So, oh yes, here we go.
I'm sad to say I'm going to miss for about the next month, but I'm happy to say I'll be on a Mediterranean cruise.
Very nice.
It's getting expensive. I'm putting $60 in. He's getting married. I'm celebrating my 60th today. To the same woman.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh, we got $1. $1 over here.
So put in 10 today, 5 because I'm thrilled to be back, but 5 because my best friend since childhood, her niece has started a nonprofit, and it is related to music therapy for mental health. And her nonprofit is called Music Heals Minds, and they look to put music therapists and instruments into mental health facilities. And they're working with another organization called Music Therapy Retreats, who does just that, host retreats, not just for, things that you would think of as typical mental unwellness, but also things like PTSD and trauma, that kind of thing. So the event is going to be on Amy Grant's farm on April 5th, and it's going to have a host of really good songwriters and musicians. And I've got information on how to buy a ticket or sponsor the event if anybody is interested.
You. Here we go.
Thank you, Tucker. So I'm happy because BRCCF trustee Steve Huff, for those of us who are technologically impaired, brought physical copies of the major grant application, right? This is due by next week. If you have a major grant nominee, please fill this out, get it in. We're interested in giving away $10,000 to important local organizations. So there you go.
Fantastic.
Hey, Will. Tucker, kicker, best man. Good luck, buddy. Real quick message on the cornhole tournament. We had our third match today. I got killed by Charles Drummond. And but ladies, come on. We've got 5 ladies signed up. 2 or 3 of you have tried to sign up and couldn't for some reason, but we need at least 6 to have an even number of brackets. I need 1 person. 8 would be great. That's how many we had 6 years ago when we had the tournament. We had 8 ladies. But I need at least 1 more lady to sign up so we can have an even number of brackets, okay? I'm available. You got my email. Thank you.
Anybody else? Going once? Alan? No, just giving you a hard time. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Sold.
Okay, thank you, Tucker. Now we have a few announcements before we introduce our guest speakers. Sheila, do you want to come up and say a word about the blood drive?
Okay, we're starting up the blood drive again, as I mentioned previously, and it's with Blood Insurance. And just to remind you that Blood Insurance is a local blood collection agency, nonprofit, and they supply they supply the blood to local people, our locals, and they provide with Vanderbilt and Williamson Medical and several others. So I've got a sign up sheet on the table. Please sign up for donating if you want to volunteer. Please volunteer. The more people I volunteer, the less time you'll have to work. And it's basically just checking in people. I know George Johnson and I will be at the door kind of getting people as they come in to go ahead and donate as they're going into the pancake breakfast. Also, you can go on to the BrentwoodRotary.org website and you can also sign up then. But if you sign up on this sheet, I will email you the link also to sign up. So please help save a life. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. I just want to remind everybody that we have our Owls Hill Nature Sanctuary Workday coming up on March 15th. There's a QR code up here that you can scan to sign up if you have not already. And look at your tables, everybody. There is already tickets and information out for our Pancake Day, which is our annual community service, really. Event. It used to be a fundraiser, but now it's more of just a community service event. And we did it last year in conjunction with Cars for Kids, and it was just so much fun. So please take your tickets, get them out in the community, and let's knock Pancake Day out of the park this year on April 12th. Anything else, John? We good there? Take a flyer. If you've got a place to put one of the flyers, please take it and put it up in a window, a door, at a business, whatever. Okay, plenty of tickets. I think this is the earliest I've ever seen tickets out. So awesome. We really are. Okay, and with that, I will ask Kip Dodson to come up and introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Madam President. Our guest today knows more about Williamson County than Waze, Google Maps, and your know-it-all neighbor all put together. He does. He does. He is the fearless leader of Williamson County Chamber of Commerce, also known as Williamson Inc. He's been so since 2013. He is the president and CEO, steering our business community towards unparalleled growth and success. Originally from Fort Smith, Arkansas, he holds a degree from Henderson State University and a master's from the University of New Hampshire. So he's got some Southern charm, a little New England smarts. It's working perfectly for us. He's also got a graduate degree from the Economic Development Institute of the University of Oklahoma. So we got a little boomer sooner cowboy knowledge and influence there too. So he also, he's a business leader and has other talents. So if he's not advocating for businesses, he's crafting furniture, tending his orchard, dominating the tennis courts, carving the downhill ski slopes, and also volunteering as a board member for the Williamson County Homeless Alliance and the Pilgrimage Music Festival. And could you tell us who the headliner is going to be this year, maybe? Okay, all right. So please give a big Rotary welcome to the man who puts commerce in chamber, the will in Williamson, and you can spell legend if you add an E and a D to the letters of his last name. His name is Matt Larkin.
I'm going to pay for all that with two of my team members here today. It's going to live on way past this luncheon. But thank you, Kip. That was really kind. I really appreciate that. And it's an honor to get a chance to have this conversation with you all. Those who've heard me talk in the past know I really enjoy the back and forth and the interaction. So I'll make sure my remarks are pretty short and really give it a chance to have a conversation with you instead of a conversation at you. So I'll jump in here. This is probably review for a lot of people because I saw many hands went up for Leadership Brentwood. Well, probably no. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So that's a little about the organizational history of Williamson Inc. Williamson Inc. is the brand that encompasses both the Chamber of Commerce and the Office of Economic Development. So this is the history and the timeline of when we were actually created. And I'd say the most important part of this was having the Chamber unify to give businesses a single path to engage in the community. And more than anything, it gave businesses a larger pool of people to do business with. So, we know that businesses cross county and city lines, and having one organization that encompasses the entire business community is better for our individual members because it gives a larger pool of people to sell their goods and services to. And more than that, it encourages collaboration, both regionally and statewide. I'm really excited. In April, we're going to host in our office a summit of the top 10 cities in Tennessee by population. All the mayors and staffs are going to be in our office figuring out ways they can tackle some of the problems that are endemic to communities across the state. So again, that's the collaboration piece. But I just wanted to run through that really quick and also talk about the work we've done in Brentwood ever since we were founded. So right now we have 251 members that are in Brentwood. That represents over 8,000 employees. You saw earlier, we have over 500 leadership graduates since the start of the program, with volunteer hours, over 2 million volunteer hours, and invested nearly $1 million in over 100 community service projects and 100 plus ribbon cuttings as well. So in addition to being Williamson County's chamber, we're also the chamber for Brentwood. And you can see Brentwood with the membership and the employees represented are both very well represented in our organization. Just because we joined forces with other cities didn't mean we left any other cities behind, including Brentwood. So, this is important too, because we talk a lot about how different members and nonprofits define success. Everybody defines it a little differently. It could be finding new clients. It could be finding better clients. It could be finding new employees. It could be finding better employees, right? And so we're really a place where we bring community together to connect and meet with opportunity. That's really the bottom line of what we do. And I think this is the point where I want to just take a second and thank you all for the work that you do. Not just the work you do and the projects you give back to the community, but I don't know if anybody had a chance to read this article. This has been now probably a month or so old, called The Antisocial Century by The Atlantic. And it was so frightening because it talked about not just the fact that we are more isolated, but we're becoming more comfortable with isolation. And it's really through groups like yours that creates a sense of community that makes a place special and gives meaning to people's lives, gives meaning to the work you do for the community. And more important, it just helps connect the community together. And it's so important because of what we see happening across the country. So if you haven't seen this, Google it, get the article. It's again, it's frightening, but it's also a wake-up call to make sure we never forget the importance of community, no matter where we are. A little bit of an aside, but I think it's really important. So I'm going to spend the next probably 10 minutes just walking through some different data points that we collected from a survey that went out in December and January that we do annually, focused on an event we have in April that I'll talk about called Outlook Williamson. And we really try to get on an annual basis the past, 7 or 8 years, Nick helps runs the survey, about where people feel about the economy, the challenges, the opportunities, and really looking forward. So when we talk about economic development, one of the bottom line of economic development really is about jobs. And I think the best definition of economic development is helping to create prosperity for people you care about. And so, we asked a very simple question: what's your business, organization, staffing expectations over the next year? You can see most remain the same, but a pretty fair amount are increasing with very little cutbacks and a few not sure. So this would be representing the year of 2025. Most people expected it to remain the same, but not far off, actually increasing total employment, which is always a great sign for an economy. This is interesting too. So in the past year, we had them look back a year. The following have impacted my business organization. So we had the rank from positive to negative. AI and automation. That is, everybody talks about AI. It's actually going to be the focus of the event we have in April. We actually have a professor from Vanderbilt coming to talk about what AI looks like it's going to do in the future, but what it can do for your business today. So it's interesting to see most of the people are tech optimists, especially in looking back. Digital work and remote work and digital collaboration, you can see the 39 to 15% positive to negative. Cybersecurity measures, Tennessee political climate, I'll get into that a little bit, Williamson County political climate, and obviously inflation being the biggest negative and the biggest drag on the economy in the last, 4 or 5 ever since COVID. So that's pretty interesting. And we've got a committee that helps put this together to decide what kind of topics to put into this. It's also based on some of the survey feedback as well. So in the coming year, I expect the following to impact my business organization. Even a bigger difference of people being very positive about the potential for AI and automation in their business, remote work and digital collaboration, kind of the same, cybersecurity, and even the Tennessee political climate in Williamson County increasingly viewing that as a positive for their business in the coming year. And inflation, you can see the big difference between the numbers, the 77 versus 58, inflation starting to ease and getting better for people's individual businesses. Here are the following challenges. These are kind of things we always work on as an organization. So increase in operational costs, obviously that's a big one that goes right to inflation. Traffic congestion, we hear about that all the time. Always a challenge in a growing area. Finding talent with the right skill, need for affordable or attainable housing, that's also really important. And I will say, if you think about the work our organization does, in addition to hosting 200 meetings, events a year, managing the youth and adult leadership Brentwood program, it's also focusing on 3 big core areas to try to make progress on those. And that is the things that we know impact our businesses the most. And that is the attainable housing piece or affordable housing, transportation solutions, and funding our education system. Anybody that's either moved here, talked to somebody who's moved here, had their kids in school, knows the single biggest economic development differentiator that we have in this community are the public school systems. And there are leaders decades ago that really invested heavily of that, and we're reaping the benefits that we see today. And I'm actually getting a chance to see it firsthand. I've got 2 daughters in high school, one about to go to college, and she's been accepted to every college but one she's applied to. And that is absolutely the strength of a Williamson County Schools education, without a doubt. So those are some of the challenges people face. Again, some of the work we do to try to work on that. And I think the transportation is definitely one of those hot topics. We saw the referendum, I guess last year, maybe the year before, in Davidson County go through 2-1. So we asked the question, would you support additional dedicated local funding for public transportation options in Williamson County? You can see it's overwhelmingly yes to no, because we know we have to figure out this regional solution when it comes to transit and transportation. And then we actually asked a even more in-depth question this year, which is the more pressing priority to improve public transportation, improving local transit within the county versus improving a regional connectivity. And I think we were even surprised by this, how much higher this notion of getting some kind of regional system in place, whatever that happens to be, there definitely is an appetite for that, at least for the people who responded to the survey this year. And we asked this question as well. This clearly was a hot topic, hot enough that there was a special legislative session on this about the school choice, school vouchers, the education freedom scholarships. And so this was the question we asked about, do you think the implementation of the legislation around universal school choice would impact the quality and accessibility of education in Tennessee? You can see the negative to positive, negative being more, but even bigger than positive was unsure, unfamiliar with the legislation. So we asked it for Tennessee, then we asked it specifically for Williamson County, roughly the same, a little more negative in this case, but again, a lot of people just weren't familiar with the legislation as well. So I think, and where's Sheila? I mean, she can talk way more about this because she's been in this fight for years. I think a lot of it depends on how this is actually implemented, how it's rolled out, and what impact it has to Williamson County in the coming years. It's honestly really hard to say. I guess it's one of those things we'll just have to see how it shakes out, right? So that was the school choice. And then we always ask the question, what are some areas in which Middle Tennessee could improve? And you can see this is the word cloud. So the more often these words came up, the bigger the word is. So you can see housing, affordable housing, transportation, infrastructure, traffic, growth, workforce, no doubt. I mean, these are the things reflected. These are the things we know. And frankly, these are the topics we've struggled with for decades in a growing community like Williamson County. I know Sheila's done this. Who else in this room has ever been on one of the trips we've taken to study other cities? Okay, I know Keely's gone before. Yeah, so every couple of years or so, we pick a region to study, to learn what they did right, and honestly, more important, what they did wrong and how we can avoid some of those challenges. And typically we look at areas that are growing at a clip that we are. So last couple ones we just did Salt Lake in November, and we did Phoenix before that. And I thought it'd be interesting just to share with you some of the things we learned when we're looking at other communities across the country. For housing, we know it is a complex issue. But I think this is really important because it is a solution that requires collaboration beyond just government. In fact, there are a couple legislative bills before the state session this year focused on attainable housing. I just saw a stat earlier today that 90 of 95 counties in Tennessee have seen population growth. So we know that this is an issue that's not just specific to Williamson County and Middle Tennessee. Other places around the state are seeing some of these challenges around housing. And it does involve the entire spectrum of people that have any role in housing, and how to engage them, I think, is probably really, really important to try to make an impact on that. Obviously, the high land cost, needs of developers, the land use plan, for sure, all those challenges. It is definitely one of those interconnected, especially when it comes to housing and transportation. Next, we talked a lot about public-private partnerships when it comes to transit. The state now, I learned this morning, is studying where they're going to roll out some of their choice lane program across the state, looking at 65, looking at 24. What does that look like? So obviously, regional collaboration is important. And then, economic development, I think that's always really important because sometimes, look, people just assume, well, of course, why wouldn't they come to Williamson County? Well, there are a lot of communities across the country who are far more aggressive than us that call on our companies all the time to encourage them to move to their community. There was just a few years ago, Florida made it very public. They were coming to Middle Tennessee to try to steal our companies. And they had a meeting with the CEO of Tractor Supply Company to do just that. So, we're always working with our existing companies to make sure that they're happy here, that we're taking away the impediments for growth. True Green just moved their headquarters from Memphis to Williamson County. We just had their CEO meet with the county mayor, city mayor, Franklin, and so our state legislative officials, just to make sure we're keeping a pulse on those companies, understanding that that company is somebody else's best prospect. So that, I think, is really important to know as well. Attainable housing, I talked about that. Again, this is some of the things we looked at in Salt Lake. This was also really important too, is keeping Main Street local. It was really interesting in Salt Lake, actually it was Park City, where Park City allocates only a certain number of basically chain stores in their different corridors of downtown. And once they hit that max, chain stores are not allowed to come in by ordinance. It's pretty interesting. So learning about those things, how do you keep your Main Street unique and local? Obviously transportation as well. I mentioned the choice lanes, as part of that as well. And this, that was pretty interesting. Nelson Andrews was on our trip this last year in Salt Lake. And one of the things that really struck him was whether it was Provo, Lehigh, a suburb of Salt Lake, or Park City, they all talked about the importance of making 30-year decisions and how it does take political courage to get the hard things done as long as you're focused on those next 30 years. That was the framework which they operate. I think that was a big takeaway from a lot of people, especially Nelson, on this trip. A couple of things I'll do it before I close and talk about some of the work we do with small business. Actually, make Nick do that. But what I wanted to do is mention Outlook Williamson is April 1st. For those who haven't had a chance to attend, it's the factory at Franklin, 7 to 11. We're going to focus on how we rank compared to different parts of the state and what ways we can make improvements, the future of AI in the workforce. I mentioned Vanderbilt being a big part of that conversation. And then we'll update the community on a couple different key developments that are coming to Williamson County specifically. And I also want to mention, saw the hands go up earlier, but Leadership Brentwood applications are open now, and there's an informational mixer next week for those who might be interested in going through the program, or if you know people might be interested in sending through the program. And so it's not really on the slide, but since Nick's here, I'm going to have him just talk about it for just a minute. But 90% of the businesses we that are members of Williamson Inc. have between 1 and 10 employees. And so we know there's a big need to help and support small business, in addition to recruiting the large businesses to the area. And so we started a small business council last year. We're doing some workshop series. We're also doing some pretty innovative things around helping businesses start up. And Nick, I'd love if you could just just tell the audience a couple of minutes about the work we're doing more intentionally about helping to support our small businesses.
I came to listen to Matt speak, not to speak, but I want to copy that intro, by the way, too. That's going to come back. So I think the coolest thing we do in downtown Franklin, if y'all are familiar with the Franklin Grove campus, Heritage Foundation is letting us use a home on that campus to use as a business incubator. So we have 5 businesses in there right now, and some co-working space set aside for folks that aren't quite ready to lease out a full office suite. But the goal is for us to get, again, scalable businesses in there for a short amount of time that might not be able to afford space in Williamson County or have other constraints that keep them from the office market in there, convene their teams, then we try to spin them out and keep them in Williamson County if we can once they've graduated. Obviously giving them the full scope of resources we have as a Chamber of Commerce while they're in there. The only technical program I think would be worth highlighting, right now we are running a Spanish-speaking cohort of our Entrepreneurship Academy, or Startup Academy. We just changed the title of that. We do an English-speaking cohort in the fall, but that's a 10-week program in which we take people through all the stages of starting and managing a successful startup. So they start with their business license all the way through the financials and marketing plan for their business. So again, as you all run into people, just so that's a resource we offer for free to folks over a 10-week span. The Innovation Center, again, it's currently full right now, but we try to keep a backlog of folks that are interested in that. So if you know of somebody that wants a space to convene their team, we're always taking applications for that. You can see the link on our website, and yeah, try to keep that full all the time.
Great, thanks, Nick. And Nick's just a great resource for small businesses as well. So if you have any specific question, he's the one on our team that would answer that question. And before I close too and take questions, because I want to hear from the group, I think it's really important when you think about economic development, there is such a tie, especially in Williamson County, between these small and large businesses. You don't have to choose. You don't have to put one over the other. But when you bring in a company like TruGreen and In-N-Out's, essentially HQ2, you're bringing in jobs with really high salaries that give our residents purchasing power to support our small businesses. There is a direct tie between those two. And when In-N-Out had their groundbreaking last year of their headquarter operations, they actually were catered by a small business, and they picked Bell Construction, a company that grew up right here in Brentwood, to do the build of their new headquarters. And so I think sometimes people think, oh, you just care about big business. Well, no, there is a connection between those two. And this ecosystem that's been built so thoughtfully and intentionally not just supports each other, but benefits each other by being here in Williamson County. So thank you for the few minutes for the conversation. I'd love to take any questions on things I did or didn't cover and make Nick answer those. Yes, sir, Kerry. Yeah, we talked a little about that earlier too. So I can't speak on the residential component, but I can absolutely speak on commercial. I don't know where that speaker got that, because you've got Berry Farms, which is maybe a third built out. And then if you go even further south, you've got June Lake, which is a 700 acre. It's Cool Springs 3.0. So Berry's Farms is 2.0. June Lake is 3.0. I think you've got at least 50 years of development without even redeveloping property that's here. So I don't, again, I didn't hear it. I don't know. I don't want to speak ill of anybody who was here before, but from a commercial standpoint, there's way more than 2 or 3 years. There's at least 50 years of new construction, not including things you could redevelop in the community. And I'm not sure about the Brentwood piece too, because Brentwood's a pretty healthy submarket. It actually has the lowest vacancy rate here. So I don't know if he was speaking to Brentwood or not, but Brentwood by its design is built out for office space from what I understand. But there's plenty of, yes.
Hi, can you speak to any of the membership levels offered within the chamber? I'm more specifically interested in anything that it would either be like a belong or like individual membership, or if you offer anything for nonprofits.
We do. So we do have a nonprofit membership that's $250 a year. We have about 110 nonprofits that are members. And then between 1 and 10 employees, it's $450 a year in terms of your level. So yeah, we'd obviously love to have new members in the organization. Yeah. Yes.
So I'm a business owner in Cool Springs, and I talk to a lot of them, and they'll tell me my number one issue is getting employees.
Oh, yeah.
That can live here.
Yep.
That don't have to like travel from Murfreesboro. So what would you say to them?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. That's where that transportation and housing conversation is so important. And we've been working for I guess probably 4 or 5 years with the city of Franklin on any sort of attainable, affordable housing initiatives to help with that. And also a regional transportation system would make that difference as well. So the 2 of the 3 things that we focus on in terms of making progress on would absolutely benefit some of those employees you're talking about. So we advocate for those all the time. Yeah.
Very rare people need me to have a microphone to hear me. It's usually the opposite. Oh, I see those. Hi, 4 people. I hope this helps. I know the transportation issue is a difficult one. My best recollection when it came last time was that there were a lot of people who did not want regional transportation. I think with the idea that you're not from Brentwood, we don't want you to find a way here, right? Is there
you said it. I didn't say that.
That's not my
clear.
perspective.
That's not what I said.
I'd love to make it easier for people to come in, but isn't, I mean, yeah, I was intrigued when I saw that that thing of yours where most people like overwhelmingly wanted buses to be able to bring in people in from Nashville or whatever, and I'm like, who are they talking to? Because
And in fairness, I think it's the idea of it, right? And I think the other challenge is, look, I mean, when you go to a city and you see a robust mass transportation system with nobody on it, that's a problem. If you're going to spend $1 billion on the system, you want to make sure it's being used, which is interesting because, Keely, were you with us in Denver? Did you go to the Denver trip? I can't remember. Sheila, you were on the Denver trip. Okay. So one of the things we did in Denver was we actually took their bus rapid transit system from Denver to Boulder, which was really more like a Wi-Fi coach. You know, right? That was remarkable. That wasn't a bus. That was a coach, right? So you think about, okay, what would work here that maybe wouldn't work other places that we wouldn't spend the money we would in other places. We even brought the mayor of Lone Tree, a suburb of Denver, in to talk to us about what they've learned with having their light rail. So yeah, you're right. It is not just a should we do it? It's okay, now how do we do it? How do we allocate the money? And how do we make sure it's something people are actually going to use? That's it? Surely.
I happen to be a native of Salt Lake City.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised there, went to high school.
Great.
University of Utah. And one of the biggest issues for years has been air quality out there.
Right, right.
Did they talk to you about air quality and how that impacts their economic development?
They talked a little bit about that. Do you recall? Yeah, so. Go ahead.
I believe it's just kind of unique to them with how the mountain range is, and it just traps the airflow. That's the extent of what they mentioned to us.
Yeah, and when we were out there, we actually visited 2 companies. Adobe has a big operation there, and so does Qualtrics. If you know the survey company Qualtrics, they're headquartered in Provo. So it seems like over the last decade or so, Salt Lake is really focused on tech recruitment and growing tech jobs, and you could actually see that, manifest in the companies that we had the conversation with. Yeah.
So obviously COVID really hurt Maryland farms and vacancy rate was up. How's that recovering? And any update on the YMCA building?
Sure. I can talk about the rates. I don't have necessarily have an update on the YMCA building, but I can tell you that Brentwood as a submarket has the lowest vacancy rate of any submarket in Middle Tennessee. I think around 9%, which is fantastic. And I think that really Brentwood really benefits from the proximity of Nashville, the population centers in Nashville and South and Franklin and Spring Hill. So I think as a submarket, yeah, there'll be challenges like anybody else, but in terms of health, it's really strong. And you've seen Highwoods redevelop a few buildings at a time, not a massive redevelopment, building by building at a time. And even when I talked, so Brookdale Senior Living moved out of their building. I talked to the guy who worked that project and said, we looked all over Middle Tennessee and Brentwood was still the right place for us. So they just went next door. So I think Brentwood submarket's pretty strong. I will say this, there is a move by companies starting to look to make sort of decisions on expansion and relocation projects. We haven't quite seen it yet, but we're hearing things like that, especially when we're talking to bankers. Seems like things are starting to turn around a little bit, which I think will be good long-term for whatever Highwoods decides to do to that Y facility. Yeah, Mike.
Earlier about and I think we may have been talking about two different areas.
Okay.
Williamson County has a lot of land.
Right, for sure.
Brentwood is not.
Right.
The Brentwood commercial land is pretty well.
Yeah, it's done, I think.
all done.
Yeah, I think so.
So the challenges for Brentwood and Franklin or other parts of the county are very different.
Right.
Would be look how to better utilize what they've got.
Sure.
The rezoning ain't gonna happen.
Right.
So, and part of that is Maryland Farms, of course, is an aging office park.
Mhm.
And so they're gonna have to look at how to better utilize Maryland Farms and other commercial areas, how to maintain that occupancy.
Sure.
Also, one of the things.
Especially when Brentwood's budget is what? It's 90% Maryland Farms. I mean, it's a pretty high percentage.
Brentwood's what?
Budget, their annual budget is a significant amount comes from the taxes from Maryland Farms. I don't know the number exactly.
I wouldn't say 90%.
Okay.
Most of the retail taxes and everything are outside of it.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's a big generator.
Okay.
Costco, I think, is the #1 tax generator in Williamson County, am I correct?
From a sales tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah, maybe before In-N-Out gets here. I don't know.
That's my.
But yeah, that makes sense. That would make sense.
Just different challenges.
Yeah, sure.
Brentwood,
Sure. Okay, that makes more sense. If it's Brentwood specific question, then yes, of course. By design, right? I mean, that is the design of that. And I do think it seems like the city commission is open to mixed use without residential as part of maybe some of the new rezoning in Maryland Farms. It seems like, because I think, tell me if I'm not wrong, but the Highwoods property that was rezoned to do some mixed use, right? Without residential. I thought so. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a willingness to do that. And again, I think because of where Brentwood sits between the two big population centers, I think this makes sense in terms of where a company would want to put their location.
We have next city officials that are in this club and commissioner, but in general, I would not say Brentwood City Commission is open.
Again, all things I didn't say, just to be clear, for the record, all things I didn't say. Yes, sir.
So how do you solve Kip's problem of being a business owner unable to find employees because they can't afford to live here?
Yeah, there's no question. That is, again, if you went back to the chart I put up about the biggest challenge, it's availability of workforce and affordability. I mean, Williamson County was one of 4 counties over the last 3 years that saw their average home price go up by more than 60% in the country. There are over 3,000 counties in America. It is an exponential challenge here. And again, I'm glad to see the governor focus on attainable and affordable housing. I think, again, Franklin has done some things. And you know, we talk to cities all the time about their sort of interest in doing something around attainable housing. And it probably for the foreseeable future will be the city of Franklin that's interested in doing some of these kind of projects. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Okay. We have a gift for Matt today. It's a pen that we'll ask you to use to sign a book that we. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
you've done,
that's great.
you know the drill.
I
You've
do.
done this
Fantastic.
before. we read the book to first graders, and when we read the book, we'll tell them about your visit to our club. So I'm gonna hand that to you and you can sign it there.
Great, thank
There you go.
you. Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, thank you. And I would like to re-welcome our guests, Claudia, Ashley, and Catherine. We look forward to you guys being members of our club. We're thrilled to have you in the pipeline. Mitchell, Matt, welcome back, and we hope you'll visit us again. William, congratulations, and we hope you'll visit us again. Jenna and Jeff, we love having visiting Rotarians. And Nick, we heard you when you used the word yet, when you said, I'm not a Rotarian yet. We're the Cool Kids Club, so we're coming for you. Okay. Other than that, anything else for the good of Rotary? Please help put away the chairs in stacks of 8. Stacks of 8, yep. Okay, that's it. Thanks, everybody.
I wasn't sure.
Just on the inside. Yep, right here. Perfect. Yeah, either one of them.